Hello, and thank you for choosing Southern Technical College. Today, we're going to be going over the DMS program. I say DMS for short, it's Diagnostic Medical Sonography. We're also going to be talking about Southern Tech, all about accreditation and everything that you need to know about making a decision if you want the Diagnostic Medical Sonography program or any other program that we offer. Today, the goal is to really go over a pros and cons for you, right? You should have a paper and a pen. You should take down some notes, create a pros and cons, and understand what you need to be successful in your academic journey. And then what does the school to help provide that support for your end goals, for that beyond part, right? To be gainfully employed in the career field that you went to school for. I'm going to try to answer all the questions that you may have and cover all the requirements that you need to get into a program like this. Okay. So let's start with who we are. So at Southern Tech, we are committed to your success. We always say from the day you walk through the door to the end to graduation and beyond, we're going to be with you every step of the way. So we try to make sure every department helps support you. Today, we're going to talk about what each department does to help you get to that end goal. Okay. We always create that environment of support, and that's important. We do have a few different locations all around Florida. Tampa is the only one that offers the DMS program. So not every campus has the same programs. So that's one of the things you have to consider, right? How are you going to get to the campus? I get this question asked a lot. Can I take this program online? No, you can't. It's an on ground program, and you would have to attend campus to complete the program. We are going to talk about accreditation. So let's spend a little time talking about the importance of it and what we have here at Southern Tech. Okay. So, first, we are licensed by the state of Florida. You can take a screenshot at the bottom of the screen here below. Um, you want to make sure the school that you're looking at is licensed in the state, right? The next thing is accreditation. We are accredited by the accrediting commissions of career schools and colleges. That is a school accreditation. What does that mean? The accreditation, they make sure that what the school says on paper is what they actually do on a day to day, right? So they come in and they make sure each department is doing what they're required to do per their accreditation. They focus on two main important things: retention and placement. Retention is okay, great. You could enroll how many students you want, but how many are actually graduating the program, right? If the students are not graduating, it shows two things. One, they may not be happy, so they're leaving, or two, that the school's not supporting them academically enough, so they're failing out, they're falling below a GPA, right? So retention goes down. Another thing is placement. Placement is okay, great. You could enroll and graduate all these people, but how many are actually graduating and being gainfully employed in that career? What did the school do to help place that student in the career field, right? So we're required to maintain a 70% placement in all of our programs. That's what the accreditation says. That's the minimum. So you know you're going to a school that's going to support you academically and also help you be gainfully employed. We'll talk about that in career services and what that means for you. Beyond that, we're also going to talk about the program accreditation. So the DMS program is KHAB accredited. That's really, really important. It's a next standard, right? So that's something you always want to put on your resume. That's something employers look at, right? So you don't have to go to a program that is programmatically accredited by KHAB, but it's definitely a higher standard. For example, one of the things that you wouldn't be able to do without that KHAB accreditation is you would have to graduate a program and then work in the career field for at least a year before you go and get your registration and be registered, right? Like with AirDMS. Uh, Going to a KHAB accredited school, you wouldn't have to do that. You can right away go into AirDMS. You can be registered for DMS. That's something you definitely want to put a star next to in your notes to make sure that's something you ask, right? When you go and shop around, I encourage you guys, go shop around, look at different schools and ask these questions to see what is something that's important for you and what does the school offer, right? That's KHAB accreditation. So definitely look that up, research it. One of the things you want to research as well. Next is ARDMS. So I mentioned that ARDMS registry. That is what allows you to work anywhere in the nation, right? So you can go and travel and be a sonography, a sonographer anywhere that you want, right? You'll take a few tests through AirDMS, and as long as you pass those tests, you can get registered. There are certain exams like SPI. SPI is an important exam that you want to make sure you notate and you study for because that's a requirement, right? So in the program, if you don't pass your SPI, you wouldn't be able to continue on in the program. It is covered under your tuition as long as you pass the first time. But if you don't, you would have to be withdrawn from the program. You would have to go complete it on your own and then come back as long as we have that seat availability. Okay. So that's something you always want to ask about and make sure that you're committed to passing it. Okay. There are a few other exams that you would take through AirDMS, like abdomen, OB. Those are also covered under your tuition. And as long as you pass those exams and you have a clear background check, you can get registered with AirDMS. The background check is very important. So if there's any concerns, if there's anything that you think is on your background that could come back, you always want to contact AirDMS and you want to make sure that they give you like an approval letter to tell you you're good for applying to a program. We would accept whatever's on your background. So that is something that we would require us to have if there is a concern about your background. Okay. So remember a few things. Again, we are licensed by the state of Florida. We're accredited by the accrediting commissions of career schools and colleges. The program is KHEB accredited. So the DMS program is KHEB. And then you would be registered with ARDMS. Okay. The next is our catalog. The catalog has everything you need to know about the school history, philosophy. It has the academic calendar, which is important for you to look at. That's where you can see like your days off that you would have. You could have spring break, winter break, summer break. So you could plan your vacations around then. Um, it also goes into requirements, policies, and then the course descriptions. So if you're a research type person and you want to see the classes you will be taking and what you'll be learning in those classes, the course descriptions is definitely an area you want to look at. You can go onto our website at www.southerntech.edu and go right here, admissions, and then catalog and addenda, and that's where you will find the catalog. Okay. All right. So before we get into the specifics of the diagnostic medical sonography program, let's go over a few other medical programs that we have. So a lot of the times I find when I do these info sessions, the things that we go over may not align with what you're looking for, right? So when it comes to length of time that you have to wait to get into a program or length of time that you have to spend to complete a program to get into the career field. Or let's say the schedule is definitely very important. You want to make sure that you are committed to the program and that you have the ability and the space in your lifestyle to be able to commit to a program like diagnostic medical sonography. um so you want to look at, is this the right program and career field for you, right? You want to ask yourself, why specifically DMS? Sometimes I ask people that and they're like, well, because I want to help people. Okay, well, in the medical field, in any avenue that you take, you're helping people, right? So why specifically DMS? Well, I love babies and I want to scan babies. Okay, that's great. So why do you want DMS? You want to ask yourself and write that down, right? Going into our other medical programs, medical assisting, I would say, would be the shortest and quickest program to complete. It is a 10-month diploma program. So the only classes that you would have is 9 medical classes, and the 10th month is your externship. So once you're done with your externship, you can go out and you can start working. You would only need to have a high school diploma or GED and then complete the admissions process, which is meet with admissions, take a tour, and then see financial aid and eventually enroll. That would be the process with medical assisting. It's definitely a good segue into the medical field if you're the type of person that requires a flexible schedule, where you could maintain a full-time, part-time job, go to school, and still, support your family and your responsibilities, and quickly get into a medical field. That would be a good avenue for you. Um, Medical assisting, a lot of people think are like CNAs or patient care. Those are people that assist the patient, right? So they're the ones that bathe and lift and feed in the medical field, like home health aides and everything. Medical assistants assist the doctor or the nurse and then also help the patient, right? So they do injections, they do blood drawing. They're everywhere in the medical field. You see them in doctors' offices, hospitals, imaging centers, even in a diagnostic medical sonography, right? Field. So it's a good way to get into the medical field quickly and then really identify what avenue you want to take in the medical field. You could even possibly work in a place where they could pay for your continued education into something bigger and greater in the medical field. So you want to consider that. Medical lab tech and surgical tech are our degree programs. So they are longer. They're 24 months, 18 months of classes, and about 6 months of clinicals for both of those, as well as DMS. Medical lab tech is a type of career where if you want to help people but in the background, right? You don't really deal with the patients. You're in the lab, you're processing specimens and blood and all of these different things. It's a great career field. Actually, our medical lab tech program is an accelerated program. So instead of going to school for 4 years, you can go and graduate with a medical laboratory technician, but test and challenge the medical laboratory technologist exam, which is already a boost in title and a boost in salary as well. So that's definitely a benefit. It's high in demand, so it's a good career field to look at. You would have to take the math and English assessment that we'll go over later on, but the scores are a little bit lower for that. For that program, it is only day classes. So if you're looking for something in the evening, that might not be the right fit for you right now. Surgical tech is also our degree program. We do offer morning and evening classes for our surgical tech program. Um, you do graduate and test for your board. So you'd certify as a surgical technician. And it is also ABHAS accredited. So the program itself is also accredited. It's a great career field to get into. It's also assisting the patient, right? But the patient is usually sleeping in the surgical tech field. If you're the type of person that's very meticulous, that likes things in order, it's a big memorization, right? You're memorizing a lot of the medical instruments in the OR. You're right there in the surgery with them, right? So you have to question, is that something I would want to do? But it's a great career field. Actually, when you are looking at possible salaries, right, the best website to go on is bls.gov. So it's Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a government website. In that website, you can put in occupation and the area that you would work in, and you can kind of see an average and the statistics of what that looks like in that career field, that occupation. So it's a good resource if you are a research type person and want to kind of see what would give me that salary amount that I'm looking for. Okay. Those are our medical programs. We do have technical trades, electrical and welding. We won't get into those because we are all here for the medical field. So let's go into diagnostic medical sonography. We do have a quick little video that we like to show. You can look at it on YouTube. It's a short video that talks about our program. Some staff speak there, program managers. We also have some graduate testimonials and a little peek of our medical lab. So you can go ahead and watch that if you would like. Going to the details of the program, let's talk about the degree. So it is an Associates of Science degree. It is a 24-month program. You learn to identify and evaluate everything, right? So you are learning a good foundation of it all. It's not just abdomen and OB. You're also going to be learning vascular and thyroid and kidneys. So you are scanning female and male. You're not just going into a program that's focused on scanning babies, right? So a lot of people come in and that's what they think it is. You have to understand it is everything. All right. It is a good foundation of it all, but it's not a specialty. Some people think, oh, is this a cardiovascular specialty program? We don't have that cardiovascular specialty. That is an additional time that you would have to go to school for. So do your research on that and understand the differences. It is a very hands-on program, right? So we're very big on hands-on. We have labs where our students start with phantoms, right? So it's not actual bodies, but you're scanning and it actually has a heartbeat, a fetal heartbeat inside, right? So our first trimester phantoms, our male phantoms, you'll start learning on. Um, we do have first and second trimester phantoms. We also invite the community. So if anyone is their first or second trimester, they could come in and get scanned. Mom's happy because they're seeing their baby, and students are happy because they're getting hands-on training. You'll also be scanning each other in the classroom, so you are getting a lot of that hands on. We pride ourselves with small class sizes. That's super important because when you're in the lab, you don't want to be waiting for a machine. You want to be able to scan as much as possible. So that's really important, that small class setting, okay, that we offer. The big difference or the big thing that you have to consider is the schedule. It is only day classes. So this program is only offered during the day. When people ask me, okay, what does that look like in regards to schedule? You should be able to carve out time anywhere from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. to be able to attend school. So that does not mean you'll be coming to school every single day, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but it depends on the classes that you're scheduled for and what times those classes are scheduled for. Okay. You should be able to commit at least 35 hours a week to school. Doesn't mean that you're going to be scheduled for 35 hours a week, but you have to be able to stay after class, let's say, and do some extra tutoring or additional scanning time if you feel like you're behind or if your instructors feel like you're behind. Your success is your responsibility, right? So your instructors are there to help you. We have tutoring available, everything that you need, but you have to be able to commit that time. Okay. That's important when you're considering a program like this. It is a heavy course load. So you have to be ready to have this as your top priority. Okay. That is something that may be a pro or con for you. Have to make sure you understand that when it comes to schedule. These are all the classes that you're going to be taking. So these are all your core classes. It is a career focused program. So most of your classes are going to be sonography classes, right? So let's say you look at this list and you're like, look at this vascular sonography. I wonder what I'm going to be learning in that class. Take a look at the class code, right? So we talked about that catalog. When you can go onto our website, you can go into admissions and catalog and addenda, look at the course code, and they're all alphabetical ordered, and you can see the full description of that class. Okay. So these are all your classes. You could take a screenshot of that, or the catalog will show you the list of your classes as well as your externship, your clinicals. Okay. These are your online general education classes. So you do have 4 general education classes, which is English composition and college algebra. Those you would be doing in your first term. A term for us is 3 months. So every 3 months, you're going to be taking up to 3 classes. Term one, you'll have English composition, college algebra, and anatomy and physiology one. That comes with the lab. So the AMP class, the anatomy and physiology class, is going to be on ground 1 to 2 days. We'll talk about that one. And then your online classes, which is your English composition and college algebra, in your first term are going to be online. So those you can log in, you complete your assignments, you are part of a discussion, you respond to that discussion, you have your online instructor you can communicate with. If you struggle at all on your online classes, you can always come to the campus and get tutoring or get support in the Learning Resource Center to help you be successful in those classes. Okay, so if you struggle with math, we have math tutors, utilize the support that you have on ground. Your second term is going to be your anatomy and physiology 2. That's going to be on ground 1 to 2 days. And then your online classes will be concepts of physics and communication dynamics. Okay, we will talk about transfer of credits in a minute, but let's understand how the first 2 terms, which is your first 6 months, will look like. Okay, so we talked about that anatomy and physiology class. That's going to be 1 or 2 days on ground. So you're looking at the first 6 months, you're going to be spending at least 1 to 2 days on ground and the rest online. All right. That class could be split into 2 days or it could be in one day. So, for example, it could be scheduled on Monday from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m., right? Or 12:30. And then on Wednesday from 12:30 to 3:30. Well, that's going to be your anatomy and physiology class. Or it could be in one day where you're scheduled for example, on Monday from 9 a.m. until 3:30 with a lunch break, right? So that's kind of how your first two terms will look like. So consider that when you are figuring out your schedule and what you need to adjust. All right. The rest of the program is going to be on ground. So you could be scheduled Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You could be scheduled Tuesday and Thursday. Depends on what you're scheduled for. You take up to 3 classes every term, and we set the classes up for you. Okay. You don't have to come in with any prerequisites. Um, which means you just have to have a high school diploma or GED to start the process with us and then meet our other requirements that we'll talk about, right? But if you have gone to college and you're looking to transfer credits into the program, let's take notes here, okay? First and foremost, we would need transcripts from all of the colleges, right, that you've been to. So if you've been to multiple colleges, then we have to evaluate all of those transcripts, okay? We could start with unofficial transcripts, but eventually we would need officials to make the official transfer. It would have to come from an accredited school. So remember, we talked about the importance of an accreditation. That's important. We would have to evaluate that school and make sure it's accredited. Next, it had to have been an associate's degree level or higher. So it doesn't mean that you would have to graduate with an associate's degree or higher, but you had to have been obtaining associate's degree level classes. The next step is the grade. It had to have been a C or above, okay, with all of the classes that you're looking to transfer. C or above. And it has to be within 10 years with for any general education classes and within 5 years for any medical classes. That's basically the requirements for us to be able to transfer credits in. The course descriptions have to match too, okay? So we don't evaluate by titles. We don't say, okay, this is college algebra and this is introduction to math. They don't transfer over, right? We'll look at the course descriptions and see if those match and see if those would transfer over. Academics does the transcript evaluation, so we would have to wait for them to evaluate to consider what would transfer over for us to get that results for you to see financial aid. All right. Um, Next is going to be the clinicals. Clinicals is important. You have to make sure that you are committed to completing your clinicals. It is a requirement to finish the program, right? Clinicals can be anywhere from 8 to 9 hours a week, depending on where that is in your program. That's usually towards the beginning of your clinicals. And then towards the end, it could be 38 to 39 hours a week, right? So you have to make sure that you plan that out. Don't think 18 months later, now I have to figure out, well, how I'm going to get my clinicals done, right? You have to think about this now. How am I going to be able to quit my full time job or do whatever I need to do to make sure I complete my clinical hours? Now, it is important to make sure that you are asking this question in all schools that you visit and acquire information, right? This is something where some schools conveniently leave out because it is a big deal. So there, you know, sonography is not in every single medical program, and it is a high in demand career field and a high in demand program. So what's happening is schools are enrolling a lot of students in, and what happens is there's not enough clinical sites to go around. So one of the things that we require is that we only admit and start 15 students every term. So every 3 months, we start only 15 students, and they have to be in a term one status, right? So that means that you have to take at least one class in term one to start as a term one student. So going back to transfer of credits, you can't transfer more than 50% of your program. Like in surgical technician or medical lab, you are able to transfer like 50% of that program. But for DMS, you have to start as a term one. So if you've taken everything that's required in term one, which is anatomy and physiology one, English composition, and college algebra, you would have to retake one of those classes. And the same thing for term two. If you've taken anatomy physiology two, concepts of physics, or communication dynamics, all of those three, you would have to take one of those classes over. Okay, so we would talk about that once we get that evaluation done. We'll give you those options and see if that's something you want to do. Okay, so that's basically everything we would need to know about the class structure, the schedule, clinicals. You have to make sure that you're asking, one of the things that clinicals is an issue is there's not enough clinical sites to go around. So what's happening is students are waiting a year and a half to go to a clinical site sometimes. You don't want that to happen. We make sure, because we keep it to that limit, that you have a clinical site to go to at the end of your program. Another reason we keep it to the 15 limit is small class sizes. That's very important for us. Okay. These are your career opportunities. These are some of the places that you can work. You can work in doctor's offices. You could eventually go into education. That's really important when you're considering a career, right? Looking at a career, you want to grow in that career field. You want to grow in that and stay in that career. So eventually, if you don't want to be scanning, you can go and educate, right? If you have to have, usually you have to have years of experience in the career field, and then you can go and apply for a teaching job. So let's say in Southern Technical College, after years of experience, you could come in and teach students, right? You can work in hospitals, imaging centers, mobile imaging centers. And as long as you get your Air DMS registry, you can also be a traveling sonographer if you want to, right? So that's a cool thing to consider. For surgical technician, because we're ABHAS accredited, you can also travel with the surgical technician program and career field. So our career services department, they are that beyond part that we talk about, right? So they are going to be helping you throughout the program. So they're not going to just get to know you at the end. They get to know you throughout the program. They understand your goals, what you want. If you want to focus on, I learned this program, I learned the foundation of it all, and I really enjoy the babies side of it, right? So I want to work in an OB clinic. So that's some of the things that our career services department, alongside with our clinical coordinator, work together to see what type of environment you enjoy and you want to work at. They do career guidance. They make sure that you understand how to do a good interview, right? So they prepare you for those interviews, what to say, what not to say in an interview, what to wear, what not to wear, what kind of questions to ask, right? How to prepare to land that job, how to speak towards your skills that you have on that resume, right? They also connect you with those employers. They make sure that you reach out to them and you do what you need to do to get that interview. We always say with career services, it's a 50-50 partnership, right? So you have to we're going to do everything to get you there. You have to be the one to land the job, right? So career services is going to do all of those things with you, though, that interview preparation, resume and cover letter development, everything that you need to be successful, but you have to be the one to land that job. Now, let's say that doesn't happen. The good thing is our career services department, they can reach out to that employer and they could say, hey, what happened? Give us some feedback, and then we'll help you on how to do better the next time, right? So work with career services. They are there to help you, and they're committed to making sure you are gainfully employed in that career field. We never guarantee employment, right? Because we can't land that job for you. That is something important to know we offer. Our tours. So eventually, when you do come to the campus, if you do decide after listening to this session, you know what, I want to go out there, I want to check the campus out, I want to take the next steps in starting this process with Southern Tech, we would be happy to give you a tour, show you around the campus. The best time to really see the labs would be a little bit around 3 o'clock or after, just in case the students are in there and scanning. It's a little bit harder to give a tour of the lab, but we could always give you the tour of the campus and show you around. Let's talk about tuition and what's included in your tuition. We are all inclusive school, so that means everything's included in your tuition. What does that mean? Your uniforms are included in your tuition, your books are included in your tuition, your exams are covered under your tuition as long as you pass the first time, your Air DMS registry, your background checks. We do run two background checks for the DMS program. One is before you enter the program, and two is before you go to clinicals. So background is covered. Um, your cap and gown for graduation, your tickets for your family and friends for graduation, tutoring is included in your tuition. That's important when you're going to school, right? We have our strengths and weaknesses. Math is not my strong suit, but we have that tutoring on campus that you can use, right? I think that covers everything. Your degree is covered in tuition, your transcripts. It's an all inclusive school. And then, of course, all the supplies, everything that you need is included, like the gels and the gloves and whatever it is all on the campus. Um, Tuition for this program is 45,900. Okay, that includes everything that we talked about. 45,900. Let's talk about how we're gonna finance our education when it comes to tuition. There are options for grants, loans, and self pay. Okay, so that's basically the options that you have. We do accept Florida prepaid, the GI Bill, veteran benefits. So if you have any questions specific to your situation, when you sit down with financial aid, they'll be able to go through everything with you and see what those options are for you. Okay. They do go over grants, right? That you would create a FAFSA account for, and the government decides how much you're eligible for. Grants is government funded money, right? That you typically don't have to return. So financial aid can help you with that process to see what that eligibility looks like for you. Then it goes into student loans. Student loans is something that you eventually do have to pay back, right? So what does that look like? Financial aid will talk to you about. And then self-pay option. So if there's any balance that's left over that grants, loans, and whatever it is didn't cover, then Southern Tech has a self-pay option where you can make monthly payments to the school. So it is a good process where you will sit down with them and really understand, okay, what does that look like, full picture for me, and can I even move forward with this program, right? How do students apply? So it's not as easy as these three little steps for you guys. There are a few other hoops to jump through for the DMS program specifically, that you wouldn't necessarily have to do for our other programs. One of those steps is you're getting the information right now, right? Of course, ask your questions. If you have any other questions after this, reach out to us. The next step for you is to come in and take your assessment. So let's write these things down. The next step for you, if you are looking to move forward with us, is to come in and take your assessment. The assessment is called the Wonder Lake Assessment. Okay, there's two sections of this assessment that's required for this program. Verbal is the English portion, and quantitative, which is the math portion. Okay, you have to score a 250 or higher for each section in order to meet that requirement. Okay, so each section is 50 questions and it's 20 minutes each section. So it is a timed assessment and it is in a proctored environment. So you would have to come in, you would sit down, take your assessment, and then we will give you the results, and see what you passed. Or if you passed both, great. If you didn't, we'll talk about what the next steps would be for you. We offer tutoring. The assessment, the Wonderlic system will give us a breakdown of topics for review, topics for study, so you know when you go home what to focus on, right? If you pass one section and not the other, you only have to retake the section you didn't pass. You could attempt a retake after 24 hours and about 2 hours of tutoring, right? The second time would be after 30 days. The third time would be after 3 months, and the fourth time would be a year. So it is limited amount of times that you can take it. Now, for the DMS program specifically, it is a heavy course load. The purpose of this assessment is not because, we're trying to be difficult and make it harder for you to get into the program, right? It's there to make sure that you are prepared and ready academically for the course load, right? So if you're not passing this assessment on the second attempt, we're already kind of having that conversation, right? Now, if you're like, no, I'm committed, I want to do this, I'm moving on to the next steps, I'm going to focus and do this, then we'll be your biggest cheerleaders, right? We'll get you through as much as possible. But if you are struggling, that is something that you want to consider. Am I ready for this course load right now in this time of my life, right? Um, So let's consider that. Once you pass your assessment, then we would give you the background check form. The background check is required to fill out. We don't submit the background check yet. We just put that down as the next step in your process. Once you pass your assessment and do that background check form is when you get into the pool of prospective students wanting to get into this program. Okay, so that's the only way you can get onto that list of DMS students. We would give you an essay page to take home with you. The essay is a day in the life of a diagnostic medical sonographer. It's 1 to 2 paragraphs. It does test you on sentence structure, punctuation, vocabulary, grammar, right? All that good stuff, as well as your knowledge and understanding of the career field. Okay. That is, you would have to handwrite and submit that to us for evaluation. So that's one of the steps in the process. Then, in between that time, you would be completing documents to send to us. So it would be your high school transcripts, your college transcripts, if any. So college again is not required, right? What is the requirement to have your high school diploma or GED, but not college. But if you do have college, submit those college transcripts from all of the colleges you've been to. Once you are next in line for that next step, which is we evaluated your transcripts, we're on to the next steps with you, you would come in and see financial aid at least the first time, right? So that's where you would discuss, okay, these are the credits that are transferring over, or what does that financial situation look like for me to see, are we moving forward, right? Once that's good and you're comfortable with financial aid, we schedule you for your DMS interview. The interview is basically the final step of the process for admissions. The interview is there to make sure that you are ready, willing, and able to start and finish the program, right? So we make sure that when you get into that interview and they ask you, the program manager would ask you, okay, so are you working at this time? Yes, I have a full time job. Okay. Well, how are you going to be able to attend classes? Well, I want to kind of see if I get into the program and then I'm going to talk to my boss and see if he could change up my schedule. That doesn't show that you're ready, willing, and able to start and finish this program, right? So you have to make sure you are ready with your schedule and everything laid out, have talked to your family and everything, you know, your child care, all that good stuff to be able to commit to this program. If everything goes well through that interview, then you go on to the next steps, which is us getting you that enrollment paperwork. So we would fill that out with you. You would get enrolled into the system, and complete whatever you need to get ready for orientation. You would attend orientation and then get started with classes. Okay. So that's basically, in a nutshell, everything DMS and Southern Tech. The next steps for you guys would be to schedule your Wonderlic assessment. How you would do that is you would contact Dina. She has been in communication with you, or contact the school so we can schedule you in for your Wonderlic assessment. We do have proctors morning and evening. The latest you can come in is 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. You would have to come in around before 2 o'clock, I would say, on Fridays. And we are open most Saturdays from 9 to 1. But the latest you could come in is 12 o'clock because it is a 40-minute assessment. So we want to make sure that you have enough time to complete that assessment and for us to give you your results on a Saturday. Okay, so call in, let us know the day and time you would like to come in, and we can confirm that that date and time works for us. I hope I was able to answer all of your questions. I hope you guys do create that pros and cons list. I encourage you to look out there, look at the options in the schools that you have. Not every school is the right school for everybody. So understand what your needs are and what you need to be able to be successful in your academic journey, right? So we are happy to help you on campus. We're excited to get you started in your next chapter in your medical field. Have a great day.